Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate it also. And in addition to that as well, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year, and a lot of times they're even watchable. I promise. Give this video a thumbs up if you've been enjoying this series of team previews and predictions that we're doing. Gonna get as many in as we can. It doesn't take you any time or cost you any money to thumbs up the video, so it would mean a lot to me if you enjoy these videos. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up now. Shout out to Brian E. over on the Uncle Lou Patreon page. You requested this video, sir, preview and prediction for the Missouri Tigers for 2019. Shout out to everybody over on the Patreon page. You guys know I really appreciate all the support you guys have for the channel. I can never express how much it means to me. I really appreciate it. If you have not requested your team yet on the Patreon page, if you're a Patreon member and you haven't let me know yet which team you want to see, you got to do it by this week. We're running out of time, so Friday is going to be the deadline of when I can no longer take suggestions, or else I'm going to end up with more suggestions than I have time to do videos. If you're not on the Patreon page yet and you want to get over there, there's a link in the description of this video that says support the channel. Just click that link. It'll take you over to the Patreon page. Let me know what team you want to see. All kinds of other perks and benefits over on the Uncle Lou Patreon page too. Just click the link and check it out. But anyway, let's get on with the Missouri Tigers. All right, you guys know this channel runs year-round, even though the college football season only lasts 3 or 4 months, right? We do the live shows every Tuesday and Thursday night, even throughout the off-season. I do videos all throughout the off-season. And if you've been paying close attention to Uncle Lou, particularly on the live shows, you know that there are certain themes I've been harping on all off-season pertaining to the 2019 season. And one of those things that I have said multiple times over the course of the last 4 or 5 months is watch out for Missouri. If you look at their schedule, there's a very good chance they could start out 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. The schedule is very friendly in the front half for Missouri. I have been saying that for months. Now it's time to see, when we look at this schedule, what the possibility is of that actually happening. But before we get to the schedule, we're going to do this the same way we always do. We'll recap last year. Last year, you went 8-4 in the regular season, 4-4 in the SEC. You finished 8-5 with a loss in the Liberty Bowl to Oklahoma State. Pretty good team out of the Big 12. Your losses came to South Carolina in a game that you really should have won. That was a weird game. That game took about 8 hours to play. There was multiple weather delays in that game with lightning and big storms. Missouri, I mean, it was a monsoon. You couldn't see 10 yards downfield. Really hurt Missouri's ability to throw the ball, and you ended up losing. You lost to Bama, no surprise there. You lost to Kentucky, who was surprisingly good last year, and you lost to UGA, who really has had your number since you came into the SEC from the Big 12. I think you've only beat UGA once or twice in the 7 or 8 years that you've been in the SEC. What did I predict for Missouri last year? How far off was I? Was I close? You guys know I like to put the ending screen up here for you guys to look at. That way you can laugh at me if I'm wrong, or I can brag if I'm right. So here's the ending screen of last year's offseason Missouri preview. Well, I got the record right, 8-4. I had you losing to Purdue, Georgia, Bama, and Florida. You did lose to Georgia and Bama. However, you beat Purdue, and you absolutely spanked Florida. The South Carolina loss caught me by surprise, and the Kentucky loss, but again, Kentucky sort of came out of the blue. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. Idiot neighbor is over there cutting his grass. I'm trying to get these videos filmed. Listen, when you're watching these videos, I'm at the beach, okay? I'm just gonna be honest with you. I've been on vacation all this week. So the last couple of videos that you've seen, today's video, and the next couple of videos were all pre-recorded last weekend in one day. So another reason some of these videos may seem short, or if I'm making more mistakes than usual, is because I recorded about 6 or 8 of these videos all in the same day. I basically sat in the garage out here from 6 in the morning till about 2 in the morning one day doing these videos, and now this idiot neighbor over here won't shut his lawnmower off. Again, for those of you that have been around for a while, you know the struggles I've had with this neighbor. You know how we've been round and round. We went round and round again a couple of days ago over some friggin' pine cones. I have a pine tree in my yard. 2 pine cones fall in this guy's yard. He's got the nerve going to ask me if I plan on picking up my 2 pine cones that fell in his yard. Of course, I told him, no, not picking up 2 pine cones. You got to pick them up yourself. You must be out of your damn mind. Day later, very next day, idiot catches his house on fire, 3 fire trucks out here. I come out in the driveway to see what's going on. I said, look at this. Now, this is what he gets for the way he's going to treat Uncle Lou. I'm sitting out in the driveway watching a fireman. Idiot neighbor going to come outside. I'm sitting in the driveway. He looks over at me. We lock eyes. I just smiled at him like this. He knew what time it was. Let's get back to this Missouri video. Hopefully you can't hear this idiot, this ass clown's lawnmower over there. Yeah. So I had you at 8-4. You went 8-4. So I was pretty close to getting you right there. Got you right in terms of overall schedule. Missed a couple of the games. All right. Barry Odom. Very rough start at Missouri. Very rough start. Replaced Gary Pinkel. He had to retire due to health conditions. You bring Barry Odom in. Did not start off good at Missouri for Barry Odom. Lost 13 of his first 18 games. Started 1-5 in 2017. But since then, since halfway through the 2017 season, you started 1-5. Since that point, you're 14-6. Really seemed to turn a corner there halfway through the 2017 season, and of course looking to keep that going in 2018. But Barry Odom's record since he got there, his first year was 2016, 4-8. Second year, 7-6. That was the year you started 1-5, 2017. You started 1-5, finished 7-6. Last year, 2018, you go 8-4 in the regular season, lose a bowl game to finish 8-5. So upward trajectory under Barry Odom here in his first 3 years at Mizzou, and a lot of people think he can improve on that 8 wins from a year ago. We'll find out in a second what I think about it. All right, what's been going on at Mizzou? You remember when they had them protests back in 2015? That has really taken a toll on Missouri in more ways than one. Attendance at Missouri is down 21%. Entire dorm rooms at Missouri are sitting empty. They don't have enough students to put on them. In fact, you can actually rent out a dorm room at Missouri for a game day weekend at Missouri. That's right. You can go spend the night, relive your college glory days in a dorm room on campus at Missouri because there's literally no one else there. It's taken a toll on the institution as a whole, and some of that, in my opinion, has trickled down to the football team. I'm sure some of that is what happened in 2015 is probably still being used with some negative recruiting towards Missouri. I'm not here to get political and tell you what they were protesting about is right, wrong, or indifferent, but you can't argue that it has had a negative impact on the university and the football team, okay? 2019, you have a postseason ban. Again, it doesn't really matter for the purposes of this video whether you agree or disagree with the way the NCAA handled Missouri's tutor cheating scandal. And I don't necessarily think the NCAA ever handles anything the right way. That's not really the point. The point is you have a postseason ban, you had to vacate some wins, and a 5% reduction in scholarships, which is basically 1 a year. So you're dealing with that. Lots of distractions, no chance at the postseason this year. Will that affect Missouri's motivation throughout the year? One person whose motivation I think it will not affect, quarterback Kelly Bryant. That's right, everyone knows by now. Quarterback from Clemson, Kelly Bryant. After Trevor Lawrence was named a starter after week 4 of last year, Kelly Bryant announced he would be sitting out the rest of the season at Clemson and transferring for his final season. Missouri was the school he chose to go to. I don't think Kelly Bryant really has any interest in whether Missouri makes the postseason or not. That's my honest opinion. I don't think Kelly Bryant has any loyalty or anything like that to Missouri. He's there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to try to prove to the NFL scouts, GMs, and personnel departments that he can be an NFL quarterback. He's chosen Missouri and Barry Odom, and more importantly, offense coordinator Derek Dooley to help him get that done. So I don't think that's going to have any effect on Kelly Bryant next year. He's got a 66% completion percentage, and he can run the ball. Can he throw as well as Drew Lock? No, but he's not a pocket passer, and he gives you a whole lot of options and a whole lot of things you can do that you could not do with Drew Lock. And all indications are that Kelly Bryant will have a successful season at Missouri. Got one of the best tight ends in the SEC. I've tried to pronounce this guy's name before. It's never going to happen, but tight end Albert Akwu-Gagabunam. And again, I don't name these people. It's just my job to try to say the names wrong. But, you know, Akwu-Gagabunam, whatever it is, I don't know. One of the best tight ends in the SEC, and that can be a quarterback's best friend. Wide receiver, you were loaded at wide receiver last year. I don't know if the wide receiver position will be as good this year as it was last year or not. We'll see. But you got Knox and Scott, right? Freshman last year, but they played okay, I guess. You got Johnson in the slot. He's a senior. Very reliable. Again, somebody that I think Kelly Bryant can become real comfortable with really, really quick. A guy that's been there forever, knows all the knows the playbook, knows the routes, knows the schemes, knows everything. I think that's somebody that the tight end and Johnson are two people that I think Kelly Bryant needs to develop a positive relationship with. And then you need one, I mean, preferably both, but you need at least one of these wide receivers, in my opinion, to step up and become that true number one wide receiver that every team is always looking for. Running back, you're good to go when it comes to RB1. You got Roundtree. This guy had 1,216 yards last year. Probably a top 5 running back in the SEC, in my opinion. Let's be real. Missouri doesn't exactly have one of the best offensive lines, but this guy still put up over 1,200 yards on the ground. That's nothing to laugh about. That's good numbers for any running back, especially a running back at Missouri who had Drew Lock as a quarterback and was mainly looking to throw the ball. This guy, Roundtree, pretty good running back. You also have Bodie, I think his name is. He's more of a third down back. So, a little smaller guy, but he can catch passes for you out of the backfield, sort of a change of pace type thing. Talked a little bit about your offensive line a minute ago, but you returned 3. So about middle of the road there, right? You love an experienced offensive line. That's very important. Cohesion, how well they play together, that kind of thing. You got to fill in the other 2 spots. But overall, I like Missouri's offense heading into 2019. Defensive side of the ball, you got a lot of improving to do. I mentioned Barry Odom winning 4 games in 16, then 7 in 17, and then 8 in 18. It's a lot easier to go from 4 wins to 8 wins than it is to go from 8 wins to 10 wins. It's a lot easier. Tennessee has found that out multiple times over and over and over again. Every time they hire a coach, he wins 4 or 5 games, then 6 or 7 games, then 7 or 8 games, then he falls off the cliff and they fire him. They can't never get over the hump. Hadn't won double-digit games since Michael Jackson was black, it seems like, but it may not have been quite that long. But anyway, the point is your defense is not good, Missouri, and it's going to have to get a lot better if you want to improve on this 8-win mark from a year ago. You were 108th in America in sack rate. That's just terrible. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that, does it? No. Gave up 126 a game rushing. That's 22nd. That's not bad. So you had a pretty good defensively. You were way better against the run than you were against the pass. Got to shore up the back end. You got to work on your secondary. 126 a game on the ground, not terrible, 22nd in America, but it's 108th in the sack rate. That tells me even if your defensive backs are pretty good, they can't cover receivers forever. You got to generate a better pass rush, and you got to cover better on the back end. Preferably, you need both of those things to happen. But if at least one of those things doesn't improve, then your defense is going to be about the same as it was last year. You used to have elite defensive lines every single year, it seemed like, putting 1 or 2 into the NFL. Hasn't necessarily been the case anymore. You do have Elliott, Farmer, Longhorn. These are all potential playmakers, but we got to see them do it. Defensive backs, 3 are returning. 3 returning corners. But again, they didn't play that well last year. 100, they got to play a lot better. Safeties, 4 veteran safeties. So you have a ton of experience on the back end this year. So I'm more confident in your secondary improving this year than I am your defensive line. It would be ideal if that defensive line could step up and play a lot better, but we'll see. At times last year, your defensive backfield looked really good, and at times it looked honestly just terrible. Needs to be a lot more consistent. Anyway, let's throw the schedule up on the screen here. We'll take a look at it, and we'll see if we can figure out what type of a record Missouri might have at the end of this year. All right, you start off with a non-conference road game against a lower classification school, Wyoming, right? You'll get a win there. I don't see them beating you. I've had a few comments over the past couple of months when I've mentioned Missouri's early season schedule that, you need to watch out for Wyoming. I guess Josh Allen came from there. Yeah, he came from there. He's not currently there. Week 2. Now, this is an interesting game to me. I would love to have seen this game last year, West Virginia and Missouri. I think West Virginia is going to have a really bad year this year. I've done a preview of them already. I'm not a West Virginia hater, but they just lost almost all the talent they had off both sides of the ball. They had starters transferring off the team as recently as May of this year. Brand new coaching staff. I like the head coach. I think he's going to be successful there, but not this year. You get them at home. I think it's a win for you, and you start off 2-0. Week 3, Southeast Missouri State, I believe it is. This was a game you won. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before that you won like 62-58 or something like that. You're going to win this game, but don't do that again. That's just a reason for Big 12 nut jobs to point at the SEC and go, see? Don't do that. Hold them under 30. I bet they let you. Can you hold them under 30 for me? Can you beat them 62-30? You'll get a win. You're 3-0. At home, first SEC game of the year, South Carolina. I talked a little bit about this South Carolina game between you and Missouri and South Carolina already in this video, but it's a weird game with rain and weather delays. It took 6-7 hours to play the game, and you lost. That was in Columbia. It's in Columbia again this year, but Columbia, Missouri. It's a home game for you. I don't think South Carolina is a worse team than they were last year. I don't think they're that much better, though, either. And their schedule is absolutely brutal. I've been talking about this all offseason, too. They play Georgia, Bama, and Clemson. That's the 3 best teams in America, according to the coaches poll that just came out. They also play Texas A&M, who they've never beat since Texas A&M joined the SEC 7-8 years ago. They play Florida, they play Tennessee, Kentucky, and they play you here. First SEC game for you, week 4. Home game for Missouri. South Carolina plays Alabama the week before. They're going to be beat up, and they're going to be demoralized. You're going to get the win over the Gamecocks. I don't think that Missouri is light years ahead of South Carolina or anything like that in terms of talent or anything. Mainly, this is a product of 2 things in terms of why I'm picking Missouri to win. Where the game is being played in Missouri. Missouri doesn't have a huge home field advantage, in my opinion, but South Carolina does. So by not playing this game in South Carolina, I think it's a benefit for you, okay? And number 2, South Carolina plays Bama the week before, and they're just going to be beat up. So I think you win your first SEC game, put you 1-0 in the conference, 4-0 for the season, heading into your first bye week. Come out of your first bye week, you play Troy. Troy beat LSU a couple of years ago. Of course, everybody loves to talk about that. They'll be the new App State. People will be talking about Troy beating LSU for the next 15 years, even though Troy probably won't beat another Power 5 team for another 15 years. Their coaching staff is gone. They've moved on. Doesn't really matter. You shouldn't be losing these types of games. You want people to take you seriously. You got to beat these lower classification schools. I think you will. Get a bye week before, you're sitting at 5-0. Another SEC game, another home game. Notice all of these games are at home. You start off week 1 on the road at Wyoming, and now you got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your 5th home game in a row against Ole Miss. Ole Miss the worst or second worst, maybe the 3rd worst, depending on what happens Mississippi State this year. But in any case, not a good team from the SEC West. Again, you get them at home. I think you're going to win. Maybe I may be onto something in my offseason talk here about Missouri starting 6, 7, 8, or 8-0, whatever it is, because right now I got you sitting at 6-0. But now it gets a little bit more difficult, don't it? Yeah. All those home games you had the first half of the season, the script gets flipped here. 4 of your last 6 games are on the road, and they're all SEC games. That ain't a recipe for success, Jack. It just ain't. At Vandy, win. I don't think Vandy's a very good team this year. I just don't. I'm not a huge believer in Vanderbilt this year. I think they're going to be the worst or second worst team in the entire SEC, maybe even the worst. Sorry, Jared, a diehard Vandy fan who is here on the channel. You know, I respect you as a fan, sir, but I don't see good things happening for Vanderbilt this year. Even though you got to go there and play them, Mizzou, I think you keep it rolling with yet another win, and you're sitting at 7-0. You may be top 15 at this point, right? Hell, you may be top 10, depending on what. No, you won't be top 10. You will not have beat anybody worth a damn. Anyway, next on the road at Kentucky, loss. Some people are sleeping on Kentucky. They had a great year last year. Yes, they lost 2 of the best players they've had in a long, long time in running back Benny Snell and rush end Josh Allen. They're not as bad as you think, though. If Terry Wilson can play a little bit better this year than he played last year, I think Kentucky could come close to repeating the success that they had last year. Kentucky was a one-man band last year behind Benny Snell. If they can get away from that, go to a running back by committee approach, and they've got some okay running backs. They don't have a Benny Snell, but they've got 2 or 3 guys that are pretty good. Their defense, I think, is still going to be pretty good. You got to play them there. I think Kentucky beats you. That's your first loss of the season on the road at Kentucky. The good news is you get a bye week after that to sort of lick your wounds and try to get over it. That's the good news. The bad news is your next 2 games are against Georgia and Florida. On the road in Athens against Georgia, home against Florida. On the road at Georgia, loss. Like I've mentioned, you've had some really good teams since joining the SEC, winning the East a couple of times. Even in those good years, you struggled against Georgia, only beating them once. You got to play in Athens. Georgia's had your number the last few years, and the games really haven't been that close. Maybe this year's game is a little closer than what we've seen the last year or two, but I can't pick you to win this big of a game on the road this late in the season at a team that'll probably be ranked top 5 even, or top 10 at the worst, even if they've caught a loss before then. I don't see it happening. You lose your second game in a row on the road at Georgia. You come back home, take on a Florida team that you've absolutely dominated the last 2 years. I don't know the scores off the top of my head, but you basically beat them about 120 to 50 over the last 2 years. You just have completely destroyed Florida the last 2 seasons. It's been weird to watch, honestly. It really, really has. You get them at home, too. I think they beat you. I've already done a Florida video. I picked Florida to win. I can't change that now. Obviously, this could go either way. Some people are telling me Florida is the most overrated team, to be lucky to win 7 or 8 games. I don't see it. I think Florida is still going to be a really good team this year. They were really good last year, and you destroyed them. I get it. So this is one of those games that I'm going to get some comments on probably. Oh, how can you pick Missouri to lose that game? I don't know. Maybe I just have a feeling. I don't know. I think Florida gets the win. You drop your 3rd game in a row at home against Florida. Another home game against Tennessee, win. I'm not a huge believer in Tennessee this year. I do think they'll be a little bit better than what they were last year, but not a lot better. And they have had some epic late season collapses, even in the years that they've been decent over the last 10 years or so. You go back to 2016, they beat Georgia and Florida early in the season. They end the season playing South Carolina, Mizzou, and Vandy, and basically all they had to do was beat one of them, and they couldn't do it. I'm not a believer in Tennessee for 2019 in terms of being any more than maybe a 7-win team. You're better than that. You get them at home. I'm going to give you a W over the Vols. And then your last game of the season is on the road against an SEC West team, but it's the worst SEC West team probably, at Arkansas. They were, won 2-3 games last year. They'll be better this year 2 under Chad Morris. And Arkansas may be a problem for people a year or 2 years down the road, but not this year. I think you end the season on a positive note. 3-game losing streak there, Kentucky, Georgia, and Florida, but then you turn it around and get 2 wins against Tennessee and on the road at Arkansas. You finish the regular season 9-3. Depending on what happens with Florida, in my opinion, you're going to be 2nd or 3rd in the East. I think Kentucky probably a step behind Mizzou and Florida right now, and then Vandy and Tennessee can fight it out for who's the worst team. But I think you finish 9-3 and either 2nd or 3rd in the East. And probably not good enough to make a New Year's Six bowl game, but the bowl game's just under that. I could see you in an Outback Bowl, a Capital One Bowl this year, that kind of thing. I'm just kidding. You're on a bowl ban. I had to throw at least one joke in. But in any case, I think this is a good season. Will it be good enough to get Kelly Bryant to the NFL? Well, that has nothing to do with the record and more to do with how Kelly Bryant looks running a pro-style offense under Derek Dooley, and we'll just have to wait and see on that. He's athletic. He will run around. He'll extend some drives for Mizzou. We'll see. But that's it. Missouri Tigers 9-3. Really appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you real soon. Have a good morning.